Oh, goody.
Deadpool has put out a call to arms. The very first League event has arrived. Leagues are limited time events where you compete with similarly skilled players and earn bonus rewards based upon your performance. Much like guacamole and chimichanga, leagues are the perfect topping to pair with your usual Snap gameplay. Ready to compete? Just log in from August 8th to the 10th and play. So, leagues match you with 30 players of similar skill level in a competitive leaderboard format. For the next 2 days, join in our first ever event, the Deadpool League, and show off your skills. Simply play your regular games, rack up league points through victories, and watch your ranking climb. Joining is easy. The Deadpool League is open to all players with no entry fee required for the standard league. Hop into your standard games, and your league points will adjust based on your performance. The more cubes you win, the more points you earn. If you'd like to join a heroic league, you can pay to compete for increased rewards. For this first Deadpool League event, we're not including heroic leagues. However, we hope to bring this feature in future editions. So basically, they got a lot of feedback from the test run of leagues. They had this kind of pay-to-win feature where you could get these perks that just seemed like very obnoxious and pay-to-win. And basically, that was how they were trying to monetize it. The community didn't like that, and so they decided not to do that. And instead, they basically made it so the rewards for the leagues are purely cosmetic in the free league, and then the league that you potentially buy into with gold, the premium league, or whatever they want to call it, heroic, that is going to be, I think, where you can potentially earn some rewards that actually help you with progressing to get more cards and up the collection track and stuff like this, as opposed to the cosmetics available in the free one. If you go to the Leagues tab, we can see the different rewards here. The bottom 10 are just, actually the bottom 15 are just getting boosters. 15 through 11 are getting a bright blue border and some boosters. 10 through 4 are getting all that and a mystery variant. And then the top 3 are getting this fancy Deadpool emote, with the top 2 getting a black border. So those are the rewards for this first league. I'm curious to see how this goes. I don't recognize any of these names from people I normally play against on ladder, so I don't know how they go about deciding this, and I'm very curious to see how it goes. Now, when it comes to decks you might want to use to compete in your league, there are definitely a lot of options here. I'm going to go over some decks that I have seen and played and found some success with in the last few days as of the new season. So first of which is the new Loki. There are a few different builds of this going around. This is the one I have been liking. The idea with this build being it's kind of like a mid-rangey swarm deck that just capitalizes on using Loki for value. And we're playing enough cheap 1-drops to where we get some Marvel Boy value. We have enough generation with Loki, Squirrel Girl, and the arrows from Kate Bishop to also play Mockingbird. Very much just kind of a good stuff style deck, but I think it is a very, very effective one. So if you're wanting to dust off the new Loki, this is probably a good way to do it. Then we have a newer iteration on the Magic High Evo deck. This is one I've really been liking. I used it for my Infinite Climb, and I think it's a really solid deck, especially with a little bit less Nocturne around as people are trying different lists. I found this particularly effective at farming Zoo. It goes really, really tall versus Zoo, and they typically just don't really have the points to compete, and unless they get a lucky Nico, they generally don't have a way to shut off Magic. The idea with this deck being we just have a lot of go tall threats in Ajax, She-Hulk, and the Evolved Hulk. Abomination is really cool because we're playing the Hazmat for Ajax, but if we can get that Hazmat down on turn 5 or turn 6, if we have Magic, it makes the Abomination free, it pumps the Ajax to the moon, so 0-9, pretty good. And then we just have a bunch of supporting cards here. Cassandra Nova has nice synergy with the Affliction, while also giving us an edge in the Arsha matchup. White Widow for a little bit of clog and helping to get more things on the board on the opponent's side so we can pump up that Ajax. Sunspot Misty, just some payoffs for our pumping. Cyclops, just mainstay in High Evo. And then the 4-6 High Evo, honestly, a lot less bad than the 4-4 one was. So sometimes you do just jam that out, but not super often. Then we have Arshem. What's there to say about Arshem that hasn't already been said? You can kind of customize this build to your liking. I think Arshem is one of the most budget-friendly decks in the game, even though this version we have here obviously does use a bunch of Series 4 and 5 cards. you can very much make a budget version of Arsham and find success with the card. This is the one I've liked. Everyone has some personal preferences there. I think in general, as long as you're just slamming in like Quinjet, Coulson, Loki, Shang-Chi, Mockingbird, and Blob, you can really put whatever else you want in this deck and find some success with it. I've liked Copycat because there's just a big surprise element there, and it can be a very impactful 3-drop to pair along with our Shang-Chi. Nocturne and Legion for some location control. Gwenpool as our lone floor. I do think Nick Fury is still pretty good, but we have enough generation and draw with like Loki and Coulson to where I feel like we don't necessarily need him as much as I feel like the deck used to, but that kind of comes down to personal preference. Vision's just a good 5 that can help us get into some closed off locations, and then obviously Arsham for the extra energy boost. Classic discard has seen a bit of a resurgence. It feels like it is definitely in a better spot once again. Not the craziest deck in the game or anything, but certainly by no means a bad deck to be playing. This is the version I've liked. You can definitely make some subs here if you're lacking cards. The one that has been most common I've seen people ask about is Meek. If you don't have Meek, Nebula is a pretty solid include in that spot. If you don't have Meek, Nebula is definitely a solid replacement there. But yeah, you do the discard stuff. Moon Knight, also a new addition with the buffed version, only discarding even cost cards. That's pretty nice with our Proxima and our Apocalypse and our Swarm. So that's generally a nice little buff to this deck. And obviously Apocalypse getting his +2 power back has been fairly impactful too. Then we have the Kitty Thena moving deck. This deck is still really, really good. It's been a little bit less popular, at least where I've been at in the last few days, but still one of the best decks in the game. Just really, really good at putting efficient power onto the board. Kind of hard for your opponent to predict the output consistently with things like Gwenpool and Copycat. We have Shang as our main interaction, and Jug to just totally steal a lane on the final turn of the game. Cassandra acting as a little bit of Arsham hate, but also just a decent thing to play on 3. Hope for some extra energy so we can play some more of those cards on the final turn. One pro tip with this deck is just being mindful of keeping Thena out of that Shang-Chi range, as she is a pretty big bringer of power in the deck, so being able to avoid getting her into Shang-Chi range to where the opponent can easily deal with it is definitely something you want to keep in mind. Then we have the classic Zoo deck. Marvel Boy has been a fantastic addition to the Zoo archetype, including Kate Bishop as well. They've just been both really, really strong additions for what was already a fairly strong deck. One of the other pluses of Zoo is it's a fairly straightforward and pretty easy deck to play and learn. So if you're looking for something with a little bit lower of a skill ceiling, this is certainly not a bad one to play. Basic idea is really simple. You're just spamming out your small guys with Squirrel Girl, Shauna, and your other 1-drops and arrows, and then buffing them up through Marvel Boy, Khazar, and Blue Marvel, and having some big boys as finishers with Gilgamesh and Mockingbird. And then Bounce has also been seeing a bit of a resurgence. There are a lot of different lists around. This is one of the ones I liked, making use of the Collector. Bounce is definitely one of those archetypes that takes a while to get the hang of, as there's so many different lines and decisions you can make. But once you figure it out, it can be very satisfying. We're pumping up our Kitty, our Bishop, our Angela throughout the course of the game. We're using Beast and Falcon to return these 1-drops to hand to get more value and pump our Collector. And then Black Swan enables a really huge hand dump on the final turn of the game, which optimally we'd like to pair with our Hit Monkey to get him really large. And last but not least, we have Blink Patriot. So Sandman has been a pretty strong response to the Kitty Pride and the Bounce decks, and he's been really good at his job of keeping them in check. And this is the best way to do it, in my opinion. So this is the Blink version of the list. Blink, I think, is really strong in Patriot. And the main reason for that is you can just blink your Sandman to get you that Doom or Ultron. Obviously, Ultron is generally the stronger play, but there are sometimes Doom isn't bad as well, and also Doom is a pretty good hit off of the Iron Lad. But I've been really surprised with just how consistent this deck is at getting down Ultron on the final turn, with the addition of Blink for those games when you do not draw it. Patriot's buffing up all your dudes, as is Blue Marvel. Cassandra Nova is a nod towards Arsham, and Absorbing Man gets some value here off of Brood and Cassandra Nova, which also happen to be some really good Iron Lad hits. Jeff kind of helps us a little bit against Clog archetypes, and Dazzler's a payoff for filling up all lanes of the board, which is something we can reliably do with Ultron. So yeah, those are some of the decks I would recommend to be playing during this league. I think they're all very strong and kind of key parts of the meta right now. Can't really go wrong with any of them. By no means are they the only decks you can play. You can really play whatever. I think that's one of the nice things about this league format is you can take it as seriously or not seriously as you want, and you can play whatever you want because it doesn't really impact the way you're playing. You're still just playing, normal Marvel Snap, whether it be ladder or in Conquest, both count. So just choose whatever is best for you, and best of luck to everyone in getting those rewards. That's going to wrap it up for this one, though. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this league and the concept of leagues in general in the comments below. And if you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.